Samurai 8, Chapter 8, Slow and Steady. So, very applicable name because that's what this chapter was. It was slow and steady, but it's certainly showing what is going to come because this series is starting to pick up and gain some leverage right now. And it seems like the next chapter, or at least the next few chapters-ish, is really going to start hitting the fan. But other than that, let's get into it. So picking up where the previous chapter left off, with us seeing Ata spotting the location of Hachimaru. And this guy is so damn cool. I'm really liking this character, and I can't wait until we get more into him. So if anyone's curious why he's going after Hachimaru, it's not really made clear. We can only really speculate. So I theorized that the soul that we saw inside of Hachimaru back in Chapter 1, Takasuna's soul as it's called, the vampire, the red blade, I assumed that Hachimaru's dad stole that from Ata, because if we go back to Chapter 4, we saw that flashback that Hachimaru's dad has that worries him, and it's clearly Ata in that flashback, and he's like, I'll find you, I'm coming for you. So I guess this is the motivation for why Ata is so keen on going after Hachimaru. Of course, there is another possibility that he realizes that Hachimaru might be one of the keys required to open Pandora's box, and maybe this is one of the other motivations that Ata has here. Maybe he's trying to open Pandora's box too, because I'm sure it's like a two-sided door here. Like, you can either save the universe with Pandora's box, or you could just control it or destroy it or whatever, you know? We're also getting some confirmation on what we speculated in the previous chapter about this woman that seems to be wrapped up in, like, the holder material. This is, in fact, a princess. Still unclear if it is his princess, but we're just going to assume that it is since she is with him. But her name is Meeru, so that's kind of cool. And I also theorized in the previous chapter that this is kind of like what happens if you go the evil route with the whole princess holder samurai dynamic. Like, it seems like if you're just on the evil side, kind of like, you know, the Force, you know, you have the Sith and you have the Jedi. I'm assuming that if this is like the Sith path, you just wind up using your princess as like a material object only for your own personal gain, and she just becomes like this object that becomes infused with your holder. Not necessarily your key holder, because I assume that this dragon, this sweet looking dragon dude reminding me of Shenron from Dragon Ball, he even has like an orb in his hand. I'm assuming that like you just fuse your princess with a holder or something like that, and that's it. Like it's just a real selfish way to go about things. As where I assume that eventually, once Hachimaru gets more powerful along with Ann, that they're all going to be like their own separate people, kind of like a party in Final Fantasy. If you go back to like Final Fantasy X, I'm assuming that they'll have like a relationship that like Tidus and Yuna have. But also, as I speculated in the previous chapter, that the multiple souls that Ata has floating around him are all going to be able to do multiple things. But this is one thing that I didn't speculate, and he could just straight up Kagebushin no Jutsu with this thing, and I assume that this is Kishimoto's version of the clone jutsu in this series. So we saw that you could just make like a sword out of the soul and whatnot, but now you could just straight up clone yourself, and this is awesome. And we see that he's sending the clone after Hachimaru to do his bidding and whatnot, so it's kind of nice that we're not just jumping into the deep end fully here. I mean, this is definitely some serious stuff that's going on, but him just sending his soul after Hachimaru, I assume, is going to be like the litmus test for them. Like, as we saw at the end of this chapter, he's still crazy unfathomably powerful compared to the rest of the characters that we've seen so far, just his soul. But I'm assuming that this is definitely going to be like a nerfed version of him. I mean, why would it just be a complete replica of his power if it's just a clone? You know what I mean? So he's just going to send this clone after Hachimaru. And whenever he gets there, I assume that it's going to be a tough fight for them, or just a tough encounter in general. But also, this opens up so many other possibilities for how powerful Ata and just other really high-level samurais are. Because I guess, in theory, he could have, like, 4 of his souls all become clones, and then he could make one of the souls become, like, a sword. So now he's fighting you with, like, 4 clones with his original body, using the soul sword originally. It's like, wow, so crazy. Oh, and then he has the holder with him, and whatever backup his princess can have. Like, the possibilities for, like, super high level fights in this series are going to be incredible. Like, like end of series Naruto stuff with like the Susanos and all the crazy the jutsus and stuff like that. So I already see like an awesome future for this series, just off this one page in the beginning of this chapter. So then we're getting the official meet cute between Hachimaru and Ann, and this is nice, and I like how Ann is giving like the stereotypical like anime, not letting her guard down, not giving Hachimaru the benefit of the doubt. And this is cool because we can't just have them like immediately like each other. That would kind of like deflate things. Maybe even be a little anticlimactic, because we do have to have some struggle for these characters to develop, and it seems almost a little early for them to be meeting, but of course, Kishimoto has everything planned out for here, but maybe he wanted to get them together sooner rather than later so that they could both go through this training rather than Hachimaru have to go through training and then Ann have to go through training, and we can just get that all out of the way here, and they could just develop together from this point on. It's actually like a pretty pragmatic way to go about storytelling now that I'm thinking about it. So then Daruma reveals himself to Hagemichi, and this is hilarious. Hagemichi, of course, is just like, oh my god, I'm sorry, master, I'm sorry. But like all of the names that Daruma has here reminds me of like Daenerys from Game of Thrones. He's like the full master of the Vajraskaya style, the wandering wolf who cut down 1,000 men, the star-breaking dog samurai, the demon-biting... Oh yeah, and that's a nice little thing. Star breaking. Maybe that's a little hyperbole there, but wow, if we could get to star busting level in this series, that would be insane. So then it cuts to Hachimaru's dad, and I totally forgot that they had left him without telling him anything, or at least it was assumed, but it's being confirmed here that they kind of just ghosted his dad, and that's kind of funny. But then again, it's like, come on, dude. Hachimaru has been inside all of his life, and this is all he's ever wanted, and he's getting it, so... And his dad, they didn't really have the best of terms, before he did leave, so it's understandable. But I'm assuming that his dad's probably going to try to track him down after this point, because then that's what it seems like. He's like, where'd he go? And he's going to go try to find him. So this might connect that whole story theory that I have going on here about how Hachimaru's dad stole the soul from Atta. So maybe they're all going to, like, connect at the same time. Like, when Atta goes and finds Hachimaru, which it seems like it's going to happen very soon, maybe Hachimaru's dad winds up there at the same time. Then he's like, it's you're the dude who stole my stuff. And then we're finally going to get some confirmation on exactly how all these characters connect and what the overarching story is here. So then Hagemichi FaceTimes Princess Woon with his holder, and he's just relaying all of the information of everything that happened to her. And this is more or less just giving the go-ahead for Ann to like stay with Hachimaru and Daruma and to train under them and just to further develop her princess abilities with them, because also it's kind of interesting how Princess Woon just shrugs off that Daruma is Daruma. She's like, oh, so it turns out that he was the legendary samurai Daruma. That was cool. I guess he'd be a better teacher. She didn't like freak out the way that Hagemichi did, or maybe they're just, maybe there's more to it. I'm sure maybe in the next chapter, when Princess Woon reveals to the rest of the other samurai council that they have, maybe they're all gonna freak out about it, because we don't really know yet why Daruma is inside of his cat body. Something clearly happened, like a big incident happened that we're just not finding out about. So maybe that will be revealed sooner rather than later, possibly. So then they go inside of Daruma's bat cave, I guess you could call it, like his secret little lair. That's pretty swanky, I gotta say. And then we get some further character development between everyone. We're finding out more stuff about Ann, and she makes them the food and everything. And this whole little interaction between all of these characters are nice. I like the little group that we have going on right now. I don't think it's going to last that long, and I really don't think Hagemichi is going to stay around too much longer. But I do like the whole, Daruma, Ann, and Hachimaru, at least, dynamic that we're going to have for a little bit. It's kind of like, maybe like Kakashi, Naruto, and Sakura almost. We just need the Sasuke, which we're probably not going to get for a while. But then we're seeing that Hachimaru has finally been able to straighten out his soul sword. It's not exactly, full and super erect the way that Daruma's was, but it's getting there. It's a little jaggedy, but it's definitely better than what he was doing in the previous 2 chapters. And I like the whole contrast here that we get at the end of this chapter. When Hachimaru, he's able to cut the Cyclops holder. It's like, look, hey, Taro, I was able to cut the Cyclops holder. And we just see he went 2 inches into it. And then it cuts to the end of this chapter, which I'm going to have to talk about for a little bit here. We just see the Bushin, the clone, the soul clone of Atta, straight up cutting through a friggin' asteroid. This is insane. This looks like Susanoo cutting through the mountain level stuff. Maybe it's not that big, but it's certainly comparable to it, at least in my opinion. This looks like, I don't know, cutting like Chibaku Tensei in half or something. And this is like him flying through space, so it's taking that to the next level. Wow, I just can't get over how awesome this sequence is, and I think this is by far the best panel of art that Okubo has put out in this series so far. Really remarkable what we are seeing here in this final page. And of course, like I said, it's showing the contrast between what Hachimaru is doing and what this friggin' super powerful, crazy villain is doing just with a soul clone. So if this guy does show up, which he likely will very soon, I don't know what they're going to do to take him on. I mean, like I said, he's very likely nerfed with his soul clone, and we see that he only has one soul with him, like the sword, so he doesn't have like his other clones with him. He doesn't even have his holder, he doesn't have his princess, so he is nerfed here. But still, it's going to take like the full force of Daruma and Hagimichi with all three of their holders and Hachimaru's assistants and whoever else they could get. Maybe Hachimaru's dad has some crazy stuff, but everyone is going to have to work together to even be able to have a chance to high difficulty Atta's soul clone here. So I'm super excited to see what's going to happen in the next chapter, and I hope you guys are too. If you liked the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A video I do on the channel. You can ask me Samurai 8 questions on there if you'd like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.